This week in disc golf, both AB and Evelina answered the critics with statement victories. Olympus didn't disappoint, but the PDGA sure as heck did. Jefferson and I might have just experienced what will become a premier DGPT stop, and so much more. What's going on, all you disc-generates? I'm sitting in a Starbucks somewhere outside Monroe, Louisiana. It's Swiss cheese with the disc golf world. You guys already know I'm the one with all the holes in his game, and you're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where we cover all things disc golf from the past week. Thanks everyone for taking the time to watch, and especially to those who have subscribed. Jefferson, the minivan, and myself are currently en route to Waco. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. It's the easiest way to help build the channel to support us while on tour. Make sure to continue to check out all the content, as we are one of the few to bring all the action from the road and tour stops to you. The start of the season was a resounding success. Olympus and hopefully Chess.com Invitational have already established themselves as one of the premier stops on tour in just its inaugural event. If you haven't checked out the interview with Nick Carl and Jeff Corns, highlighting the efforts of the team and all their hard work getting the event ready for the start of the season, make sure to do so. For those of you who have enjoyed the vid already, we'll do our best to continue to highlight differing aspects of every stop. Who'd have thought that all Anthony Barella needed to do to get his first Elite Series victory was his buddy Paul McBeth to spend $1 million on a property and throw a tournament? And most importantly, refrain from being his caddy on the final day. Jokes aside, AB got that monkey off his back and quieted the haters who claimed he didn't have the mental makeup to finish a tournament. Late round errors, misses, and of course there was European Open's island blow-up. And here he was, a double bogey on 17 that narrowed his commanding lead down to 2 strokes heading into hole 18. That features what? An island green with Ricky Wysocki charging, only for him to ice the victory with 2 perfect shots, putting himself atop the podium for the first time of his career, and erasing the demons from hole 16 at the European Open, in what could be the catalyst to jumpstart's AB ascension to the top of the sport. We have seen young talents who struggled to find victory only to rattle off a big season after finally overcoming their first hurdle. Just take a look at Gannon Buhr's LVC playoff disappointment in 2022, only to win USDGC later that year, and to follow that up, his best season and top 3 finish in 2023. AB was 9th in DGPT points last season with 8 total top 10s and a 2nd place at Worlds. He was so good he finished ahead of other pros with DGPT wins in Cole Redolin and Paul McBeth. Only Eagle had more points than him without an Elite Series victory on tour. For him to start off the season with a victory with his elite arm talent, both backhand and forehand, above average putt, that will keep him near the top 10 at most events, there are few reasons why AB could not finish in the top 3 in DGPT points and possibly compete for Player of the Year. The Chess.com also highlighted the ever-growing trend that the sport is getting younger. The top 10 featured more players under the age of 25 than the mainstay names of the sport who carried the tour for years. Only 2 veterans on tour in Ricky's 2nd place and Matty O's 6th place finish were in the top 10, as some of the youngest names in the game continue to make their presence known on tour. Aaron Gossich's 1060 rated 8 under was the hot round of the tournament and moved him into 2nd place. Yet with names like Gavin Rathbun, Jesse Nieneman, Joey Buckets, and Gavin Babcock knocking on the door, and on top of some of the more established future of the game names in Kyle Klein and Gannon Buhr, truly shows the talent has caught up and is on the verge of taking over. It could not be more evident in the FPO. Paige Pierce, in her first return from an ankle injury, only finished 3 rating points later of her career marks in Elite and Majors, where she won 43% of the tournaments she entered from 2011 to 2023. This past weekend, it netted her a 10th place and a full 19 strokes off the lead, and that was without Kristen Tatar in attendance. The field is getting stronger, along with Evelina, who overpowered this difficult track in impressive fashion. Evelina might be even more of a redemption story than AB, heralded as the next up-and-coming player coming out of Europe after some lopsided wins overseas, only for her to come to the States where her putting yips was the only narrative that surrounded her game. There's no way to sugarcoat just how bad some of those misses were, just absolutely horrendous to watch. Yet most, if put in that same situation, would have crumbled even further into self-loathing or left the game altogether, and do more unwanted trauma than a child reading The Red Fern Grows. But Evelina persevered. Shit, I just deleted Jefferson and I's round at Olympus because I played so terribly that I didn't want that video to see the light of day. And I'm known for the holes in my game. Couldn't imagine my lowlights played or discussed on repeat like Evelina had to endure. But in the tournament, Evelina bounced back from her worst day on day 2 with a 10:31 rated 8-under hot round that cruised her to victory by 5 strokes, and her first Elite Series victory in 4 years also. She was best off the tee over the weekend and in the entire FPO, which continues to put her into scoring positions unlike the rest of the field. Who really needs to know how to putt when most of the time they're near drop-ins when she's that good? That, and to have the joyful response of laying up an easy eagle putt on 18 was a moment that should not go unnoticed. Laughing at her past in a victory moment was a cherry on top of the great weekend. The FPO saw some very strong performances from the top of the leaderboard in Ella Hansen, Missy Gannon, and Holland Hanley, who all made the podium themselves. Some will be looking towards Waco and the Undertaker-like return of Tatar to finally pay more attention to the ladies' game. However, if these 4 ladies can continue their play, Tatar just might be pushed unlike she has experienced over the last 2 seasons. Other major news from the weekend was the PDGA Live system going down, halting live scoring for those following the action, the actual pros during the event, and every disc golf event using the app for that matter. And I want to make a note that the crew of the tournament did an excellent job of getting paper scorecards out to resolve the issue. But this is truly more of an embarrassment and should be highlighted moreover than any trophy talk over the weekend. The decision made by the PDGA and the rollout should be more scrutinized. Many other commentators in the sport want to highlight that it was only for a short duration, was resolved quickly, and simply growing pains of a new app that should be anticipated. However, the PDGA replaced an already working model with their own competing version, while also changing the rules to force every player at a sanctioned event to use it to keep their own score. Only for it to go down during the opening weekend is more comedic than Philo's 420 being disc golfers' favorite number on coverage. I understand the PDGA wanting to gain control of the sport's statistics, but their actions only seem greedy and obviously too ambitious. Some might want to cast these criticisms as me being a UDisc fan, yet I only use each of these apps for their statistics that they provide, as I don't play in tournaments nor officially score my rounds. I have no dog in this fight, only highlighting the absurdity of the moment. Hopes are the problems are resolved, as we have yet to hit the peak of the season where the app capabilities will only be stretched further. With multiple sanctioned events, even more players scoring daily at least should be a concern for the community, and not just simply brushed off as it was expected with the new system. But Swiss, having the distance on putts is a neat feature. That's what the defenders will herald to skip over the drop coverage. Yet while at the event, I noticed that I felt there were some inflated numbers surrounding some putts. Keep in mind, those distance numbers are inputted by different volunteers at every stop. And when a similar model was implemented by UDisc years ago, it was dropped because volunteers complained and often couldn't keep pace. Having statistics that are at the whim of how good or bad a volunteer is makes about as much sense as professionals self-governing their sport. So skip me on that narrative. And if you still disagree, a number of pros have also chimed in on UDisc and PDGA Live debate. Some other tournament quick hitters. P-Gate occurred over the weekend as Haley King pointed out that the PDGA had to post an alert to players that they should not be urinating in the player parking lot. Many guesses as to who exactly was the culprit, yet most are thinking too small. Who's to say it wasn't multiple players? Due to the rain from the past weekend, it left some of the course flooded, resulting in the weird calf-deep water being played as casual. A few pros were seen in the water, like Eric Oakley throwing from his lie. For Cynthia Riccotti, her lost disc in the casual area, it could not have resulted worse in having to take a stroke and a re-tee. Terry was critical of Cynthia for taking too long and not following the rules of the game, which could not have been further from the truth. We were on the card watching and heard Cynthia ask her card mates to start the clock and followed up with the additional questions if it was started. She followed the rules to a T, even after a DGPT representative incorrectly told her to simply drop her disc and throw from where the disc entered the water, only further highlighting the need for paid professional officiating on the course. KJ lost 2 strokes for not arriving to the tee box 5 minutes before teeing off. Simon got poison ivy on his throwing hand. Everyone's gotten soft on Brody with his latest reveal of him losing his drive as of late. If you're looking for sympathy here, it's not coming. Less than a year ago, Brody was reveling in the fact that Paul Macbeth finished below former Jomez cameraman Joey Tremali at the Estonia Open, only for it to come full circle on the Macbeth-owned property after a performance that was uglier than Paul's day one outfit choice. Paul was only a fedora away from looking like a European tourist on holiday at Disney. But back to Brody, who ended up finishing all the way down in 108th place. Only 18 places and 7 strokes behind guess who? Former cameraman Joey. Maybe spend some more time throwing some plastic than shade on the sports trophies. And while we're at it, with all that was accomplished in short time surrounding the event, the logistics around the chess tent, and getting one of the most famous people in the world in Magnus Carlsen to attend the disc golf event, missing on the trophy not being engraved for the event being the worst miss over the weekend, doesn't deserve the amount of time spent on it. But it's 2024, and Foundation still wants to go after the low-hanging fruit of trashing trophies, with disingenuous checkerboard takes. Was the optics funny? Sure. Does it need to be beaten to death despite everyone knowing it will be engraved later? No. Especially with Chess.com getting the purse to nearly $100,000 in its first year and being more of an active sponsor and growing the actual sport than any other sponsored event I've ever attended. Last but not least, let's get to some quick hitters. Silas Schultz released a video announcing his intentions of full tour this year, and most importantly, his need for funds to replace little Sebastian, his car. The tour is certainly better with Silas on it. He's one of the sickest disc golf content creators, textbook form, and best hat merch in the game. So make sure to support, order, donate, or have him coach your form to get him on tour with a new ride. Loft has a Kickstarter for a couple of new discs. Kat gives us a glimpse into her shower routine, and Cole Redolin goes into some of his off-season work. That, and on our way to Waco, we were fortunate enough to throw Cactus Rock, the Dylan Cease property that is yet to be open and is still currently under construction. The same Williams brothers who were crucial in shaping up Olympus course guided us over the stunning property. What these three are doing, along with a few volunteers, is not only an immense undertaking, but what in all honesty will be a for sure future DGPT stop. Carving out paths on the side of steep terrain, cutting and pulling trees, removing and bringing in dirt on top, building bridges over water throughout the property, all that without electricity in almost a guerrilla-style approach to the work. The property was still very much being trimmed, cut, and the back 9 was still underdeveloped. The property still has a lot of work in the 4 months lead up to the first event. Yet walking this property still left me speechless and in wonderment at the beauty. Designed to be an elite-level course from scratch, with both Paul Macbeth and Avery Jenkins' hands involved, has yet to be seen in the disc golf community. When this is finished and grassed over, the best I can describe this course is a blend of Olympus and Northwood Black, with all the elevation and woods that those provide. And I can't wait to return once it's completed. And guys, that's a wrap for This Week in Disc Golf. If you are attending the event, look out for the 2 goofballs in media vests, probably looking lost. Come say what's up and maybe make a cut for a future vid. If you've stayed this long, thank you and pat yourself on the back. If you aren't subscribed, make sure to do so. While you're at it, like, comment, and share. And if you want more, check out all the previous episodes and all the content we continue to pump out.